Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 3, Book 29, Number 71. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, the Prophet fixed Dhul Hulayfa as the Miqah, the place for assuming ihram, for the people of Medina, and Qaran al-Manazil for the people of Najd, and Yalamlam for the people of Yemen. These mawaki are for those people and also for those who come through these mawaki, from places other than the above mentioned, with the intention of performing Hajj and Umrah. And those living inside these mawaki can assume ihram from the place where they start. Even the people of Mecca can assume ihram from Mecca. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 72. Narrated by Anas bin Malik. Allah's apostle entered Mecca in the year of its conquest wearing an Arabian helmet on his head, and when the Prophet took it off, a person came and said, Ibn Qatl is holding the covering of the Kaaba, taking refuge in the Kaaba. The Prophet said, kill him. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 73. Narrated by Yali. While I was with Allah's apostle, there came to him a man wearing a cloak having a trace of yellowish perfume or a similar thing on it. Umar used to say to me, would you like to see the Prophet at the time when he is inspired divinely? So, it happened that he was inspired then, and when the inspiration was over, the Prophet said to that man, do in your Umrah the same as you do in your Hajj. A man bit the hand of another man, but in that process the latter broke one incisor tooth of the former, and the Prophet forgave the latter. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 74. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. While a man was standing with the Prophet at Arafat, he fell from his mount and his neck was crushed by it. The Prophet said, wash the deceased with water and sidr and shroud him in 2 pieces of cloth, and neither perfume him nor cover his head, for Allah will resurrect him on the day of resurrection and he will be reciting Talbiyah. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 75. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. While a man was standing with the Prophet at Arafat, he fell from his mount and his neck was crushed by it. The Prophet said, wash the deceased with water and sidr and shroud him in 2 pieces of cloth, and neither perfume him nor cover his head, for Allah will resurrect him on the day of resurrection and he will be reciting Talbiyah. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 76. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. A man was in the company of the Prophet and his she-camel crushed his neck while he was in a state of ihram and he died. Allah's apostle said, wash him with water and sidr and shroud him in his 2 garments. Neither perfume him nor cover his head, for he will be resurrected on the day of resurrection, reciting Talbiyah. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 77. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. A woman from the tribe of Juhayna came to the Prophet and said, my mother had vowed to perform Hajj, but she died before performing it. May I perform Hajj on my mother's behalf? The Prophet replied, perform Hajj on her behalf. Had there been a debt on your mother, would you have paid it or not? So, pay Allah's debt as he has more right to be paid. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 78. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. A woman from the tribe of Qatham came in the year of Hajjat al-Wada of the Prophet, and said, O Allah's apostle, my father has come under Allah's obligation of performing Hajj, but he is a very old man and cannot sit properly on his mount. Will the obligation be fulfilled if I perform Hajj on his behalf? The Prophet replied in the affirmative. Volume 3, Book 29, Number 79. Narrated by Abdullah bin Abbas. Al-Fadl was riding behind the Prophet and a woman from the tribe of Qatham came up. Al-Fadl started looking at her and she looked at him. The Prophet turned Al-Fadl's face to the other side. She said, My father has come under Allah's obligation of performing Hajj, but he is a very old man and cannot sit properly on his mount. Shall I perform Hajj on his behalf?" The Prophet replied in the affirmative. That happened during Hajjat al-Wada of the Prophet. Volume 3, Book 29, number 80. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, the Prophet sent me to Mina with the luggage from Jam, i.e. al-Muzdalifah, at night. Volume 3, Book 29, number 81. Narrated by Abdullah bin Abbas. I came riding on my she-ass and had just then attained the age of puberty. Allah's apostle was praying at Mina. I passed in front of a part of the first row and then dismounted from it, and the animal started grazing. I aligned with the people behind Allah's apostle. The sub-narrator added that happened in Mina during the Prophet's Hajjat al-Wada. Volume 3, Book 29, number 82. Narrated by Sahi bin Yazid. While in the company of my parents, I was made to perform Hajj with Allah's apostle and I was a 7-year-old boy then. Fath al-Bari, p.443, Volume 4. Volume 3, Book 29, number 83. Narrated by Al-Juid bin Abdurrahman. I heard Umar bin Abdul Aziz telling about as Sa'ib bin Yazid that he had performed Hajj, while carried, with the belongings of the Prophet. Volume 3, Book 29, number 84. Narrated by Aisha, mother of the faithful believers. I said, O Allah's Apostle, shouldn't we participate in holy battles and jihad along with you? He replied, the best and the most superior jihad, for women, is Hajj, which is accepted by Allah. Aisha added, ever since I heard that from Allah's Apostle I have determined not to miss Hajj. Volume 3, Book 29, number 85. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, the Prophet said, a woman should not travel except with a due mahram, her husband or a man with whom that woman cannot marry at all according to the Islamic jurisprudence, and no man may visit her except in the presence of a due mahram. A man got up and said, O Allah's Apostle, I intend to go to such and such an army and my wife wants to perform Hajj. The Prophet said to him, go along with her to Hajj. Volume 3, Book 29, number 86. Narrated by Ibn Abbas, when the Prophet returned after performing his Hajj, he asked Sana al-Ansari, what did forbid you to perform Hajj? She replied, father of so-and-so, i.e. her husband, had 2 camels and he performed Hajj on one of them, and the second is used for the irrigation of our land. The Prophet said to her, perform Umrah in the month of Ramadan, as it is equivalent to Hajj or Hajj with me, in reward. Volume 3, Book 29, number 87. Narrated by Qaza, the slave of Ziyad. Abu Sa'id, who participated in 12 Ghazawat with the Prophet, said, I heard 4 things from Allah's Apostle, or I narrate them from the Prophet, which won my admiration and appreciation. They are, 1. No lady should travel without her husband or without a due mahram for a 2 days journey. 2. No fasting is permissible on 2 days of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. 3. No prayer may be offered after 2 prayers, after the Asr prayer till the sunset and after the morning prayer till the sun rises. 4. Not to travel for visiting except for 3 mosques: Masjid al-Haram in Mecca, my mosque in Medina, and Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem. Volume 3, Book 29, number 88. Narrated by Anas. The Prophet saw an old man walking, supported by his 2 sons, and asked about him. The people informed him that he had vowed to go on foot to the Kaaba. He said, Allah is not in need of this old man's torturing himself, and ordered him to ride. Volume 3, Book 29, number 89. Narrated by Uqba bin Amir. My sister vowed to go on foot to the Kaaba, and she asked me to take the verdict of the Prophet about it. So, I did, and the Prophet said, she should walk and also should ride. Volume 3, Book 29, number 90. Narrated by Abu el-Khair, from Uqba as above.